It started recording. So that's why this session is really important. It's finding the right fabricator that works for you. It may not be the right fabricator for somebody else, but the right fabricator for you. So let's dive right into this. In order to be successful, you yourself have a really big role in this. You have to be crystal clear on what you want. Before you're able to impart it to somebody else, you need to know what you want. You have to start by assessing your needs. You have to do a lot of research. Look at floor plans online. Understand, how large a home do I want? What is the style of a house I like? Do I like pitch roofs? Do I like modern homes? What kind of look do I like? And at the same time, you have to start assessing your topography. What does your land look like? Is it flat? Is it steep? What is my lot size? What is my building envelope? And we'll get to building envelope in our next session. Building envelope is basically the area that you are allowed to build on. So in every property, there's a setback in the front, there's a setback in the side, in the back, and there's setbacks on the side. So what is left is called your building envelope. And that's really important, because if your building envelope is only 40 by 20, you may not be able to do a home where the, I'm inventing right now, but where you have overhangs that are 5 feet on each side. You have to also address access conditions. Do you have power lines that are crossing right in front of your property and you won't be able to crane in? Is your street that busy that you have no staging area? So there's a lot of things that you have to assess before you know that you are a candidate for modular to start with, and also enough of what you like to be able to speak to a fabricator. So this is, in a way, your own feasibility study. Any questions so far? Anybody want to jump in, comments, anything?
I think this is the most critical part, and this is where actually I feel stuck. Because every time I am looking at the land, there is always something that could go wrong, and I don't dare, make the move, because I am not sure that at the end of the day that will be successful.
100% understood. Next week, we're going to talk about land and about due diligence on your land. So if you're okay shelving that to next week, Laurence?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Yes.
Of course. And then we'll discuss all that. And then you still will probably have questions, but I agree with you. I mean, it all starts with land. Hold on, somebody wants to be admitted. Okay. So the next, hi, Michael. So once you have an idea of what you want to build, right, and what your land looks like, now you have to start really doing research. And most of us, I think, are in California. I do not know where, Michael, where you're located, but most of us are in California. And so we know that modular is actually feasible in California. But if you're in another state, you may not know that. So you should potentially call your building department and see if a modular program is actually approved, because that's going to be very, very helpful. And then once you call if modular is approved, the building department may have a list of modular builders in your area. I know that if you call California, they will give you a list of all of the state-approved modular and manufactured builders. Do Google research, and then call as many fabricators as you can. And remember that even though you're, excuse me, I'm so sorry. I have a dog that just got hold of a bag, and I don't know if it's bothering me, but it's really hard to be mute, and they're crackling it. So let me go throw it away. I really apologize. Sorry, guys. My apologies. So what I was saying is that there could be state-approved modular builders for your state that are actually in another state. That is or can be fairly common. So don't disregard when you're calling modular builders those that could be outside of the state in which you live. As long as they are state-approved in the state that you're living, it's not a problem.
Catalina, sorry, I have a question about that.
Really?
Who should we call in order to have this list?
I have a list. Just call me. I'll give you the list.
Okay.
I mean, you're in California. If you're outside of California, it becomes a little bit more complicated because I don't have everybody's list. But if you're outside of California, I would call the building department, and I would just say, hey, first of all, do you guys do modular? Do you participate in the modular program? If so, where can I find the list of the fabricators that are approved by your state? Okay, but if you're looking for California, I can send you the list.
Thank you.
Of course. So then it's really important to start, once you find, let's say, you identify 3 fabricators that you want to work with, 5 fabricators. You need to do due diligence. It's really, really important. I cannot emphasize it more. And when you have to ask the right questions. So some of the right questions look like confirming that they are approved in the state in which you want to build your house. Make sure you get a clear yes or a clear no. No vague answers. I had a situation just recently where I had a client that approached somebody, and they were actually HUD, meaning from those that took last class, they were approved by the federal government, not by the state of California. And they kept telling the client that, oh, yeah, we abide by California codes. Well, they didn't. And you got to get a clear answer. And you have to ask them, even if it takes you asking, can I see your insignia? Can I see your license? Can I see your whatever? Okay. So make sure that they are approved in the state in which you're working. No vague answers. Really important. And then to triple check, what building codes do they follow? Okay. Another way to make sure that they're telling you the truth is, who is their third-party inspection company? So what does this mean? When you are getting the approval, let's say, I don't know, Sugar is my client, and we designed this great house for Sugar. And now we have to approve the house. So we take it to a third party approved by the state of California to approve it. These third parties are Radco, Intertech, and there's a few others, but those are the bigger guys. So by asking them who their third party is also going to give you an idea whether or not they really are approved by the state of California. Another thing you can ask is, at what stages do the inspections occur in factory? Really important. Most of the time, when you're modular, there's 3 inspections at least. 1 after framing, 2 after MEPs, mechanical, electrical, and plumbing, and 3 when the walls are closed before the units leave the factory. They place something called an insignia, little number, little something, and usually it's in a closet, below the sink somewhere, that says that that unit has been approved by the state of blah, blah, blah to live in the state of blah, blah, blah before it leaves the factory. Another question that you can ask them is, are they allowed to, I mean, if you choose their state approved, let's say they have a list of 10 different designs, can you make modifications to their designs? Of course, you're not going to be able to make big structural modifications because that means that the design is no longer approved. It has to go back to reapproval. But can you make modifications in the inside, like walls that don't really count structurally? Can you shift a wall and move it 5 feet? Can you remove a wall? Can you do certain modifications more to the interior aesthetics? And
so like, can you order a walk-in shower?
exactly. That would be, because let's say you chose floor plan B.
Yeah.
3 bedrooms, 2 baths. That is floor plan B. And they all have bathtubs. Really good question. And you would say, hey, I want a walk-in shower. Can you make that modification? Yes. Okay. What is the cost of making that modification?
Okay.
Another question is, how do the units arrive? Are they fully furnished? I mean, are they fully finished? Are there are there finishes that we have to do? Do they come a lot? Not a lot, but some fabricators won't put flooring on it. They'll ship the flooring. They won't put it in, because when you have multiple modules, you're attaching the modules together, and then there's mod lines, for example, that are created. And so they prefer just to ship the flooring. So these things you have to know, because someone's going to be putting your flooring in. So that's going to be an extra cost to you. So how do the modules arrive? Are they fully finished, or are they finishes to be completed on site? And if they're finishes to be completed on site, who handles those? Do they handle it after they've placed the unit on the foundation? Or is it, do you have to hire a GC to do that work? Another really important thing is, who obtains a certificate of occupancy? Are you supposed to do that with your own contractor? Or do they do it? Do they commit to seeing the project to the very end? You need a certificate of occupancy to be able to occupy your property. Without that, you can't. We have fire suppressions here in California. Will they install the fire suppression? Or do you have to do that? What about foundation plans? Some manufacturers want to be in charge of the foundation plans because they're the ones that know what kind of foundation best works for the weight and the design of the home. But others say, hey, whatever foundation, it's on you. So then your civil engineer, your structural engineer, they'll have to design the foundation. And so it's an additional cost to you. You need to know that. So it's really important when you speak with them to really, 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 really understand what is included and what is not included. And how does the house come? Does it come fully done, not done? And who's in charge of finishing it out? Okay, we're going to dig. Okay, go ahead. I'm open for questions.
Sorry, Catalina, to interrupt. I did not want to.
No, please.
I have a question. When you start working with a manufacturer, do we need to have an architect,
It depends.
an independent architect? Because I asked, I wanted to reach out to some manufacturers in order to have a better ideas about the kind of questions, that you just mentioned. And coding them, there is never any answer. And I sent emails, and the response was, please go through your architect. So basically, they didn't want to answer particular people. They wanted to discuss with architects. That's it. And I was a little bit surprised and frustrated, to be honest.
I 100% understand. And there's several reasons for that. And I don't know their specific reason. I don't know what company you spoke to. But there's the easiest answers to that is if they have the thought that you want a special custom design, they don't have the ability to do that. They are fabricators. And so they're going to fabricate. And so they're expecting you to come with your full set of designs for them to build. But there's some fabricators out there that have models A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And that is a much less expensive route to go. There's some really good, nice models that exist. Sorry. That are state approved already. And if you can, and that's what I was saying originally, if you can sort of modify it to make it your own, that's the better way to go. So that you don't need an architect to start from the beginning. Another reason that this could be is that there's manufacturers, again, they manufacture. This is a very fragmented industry. And if they're going to be speaking to A, B, C, D, E, F, G end user out there, they're not going to be fabricating. And a lot of them just don't want to deal with individuals. And they deal with more of a B2B kind of situation, which would be architects or people like Cube Living. And that's one of the reasons we pivoted also to being more of holding your hand and being a liaison to all of these elements.
I totally understand.
So those are the main reasons. There's a lot of other ones, but you and I offline, we can even go get a coffee and talk about those.
Yeah. Thank you for the clarification. And I have another question actually. Because of all the fires that we had recently and the huge costs following that, and the fact that now insurances are very reluctant to cover houses, those modular houses that are already approved, do they need to be changed and upgraded in order to be more fire resistant, in order to for the people to have more chances to be covered by those insurances? Because so right now, it's very difficult to find insurances.
For all homes, it's very difficult to find insurances. Whether you have a stick-built home, just a regular home in California, it's very expensive. And modular homes are no different. So let's start. Remember last week we spoke about there is no difference between one home and the other. If anything, steel frame modular is more fire resistant. And the way we have to build right now, we have to follow, when we're building in modular world, we have to follow what is called WUI, which is wildfire. Larry, what is it? Wildfire urban something?
Wildlands urban interface.
Okay. So it's adding additional somethings to the exterior walls and making the entire home more fire resistant. So, but when you're dealing with insurance, there really is no difference. On the contrary, it would be wonderful to be able to form a lobby. Mark, more on your list of things to do. Some kind of lobbying with insurance companies, because building modular, steel frame modular shipping container homes can be more fire resistant. So a lot of it has to do with education, but yes, there is really no difference. In California, it's very hard in general, this insurance topic for any home.
Okay, so it's not more difficult with modular homes?
No.
Okay.
So going back, so if you order one from a fabricator, is there a time limit to deliver? And is there a penalty clause if they don't?
Lovely questions. No. You think yes, but they usually do not agree to put those clauses in.
In.
Correct.
So
I
if you,
have yet to meet a modular fabricator that has agreed to that clause.
okay, so if you, I'm just going back in my memory. I thought you could put a lien on a contractor.
I think they can put a lien on your house if you
Oh, okay.
pay them.
Right.
You could just, again, you don't have to pay them, right? They're the ones that are a little bit more susceptible. Now, again, we will talk, that has to do more with financing, or the way to do this, and I'll talk about it 2 seconds. We're going off topic a little bit, and this Zoom thing shuts off after an hour, so I want to be mindful. But it's really, really important while you are building that you are paying for in factory, you pay ahead. So they're going to say, now before we can start your project, we need 50% of the funds. And that makes sense because they have to go procure all the material. But then it's like, okay, we framed, look at your house. Now we need another X percent because we are going to do the mechanical, electrical, and plumbing. And then we need an X percent, we're closing the house. So at every point in time, you have to make sure that the amount paid to them is not a lot higher than the value of what has been built. And that's very difficult to do. But we'll talk about that. That's another topic for another time. And I'll have some guest speaker lender on that.
So if you do a mortgage, a second mortgage through a lender, is that a better situation than you coming out of pocket?
A construction loan is a better situation than you coming out of pocket.
So you can get a construction loan?
Yes. Because these are houses. There's no difference between them and stick-built homes as they relate to construction codes.
Okay, so construction loans, if I remember correctly, they're not going to release the money unless they're satisfied, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
You have to meet, there has to be stages
Yeah,
met before the funds are released.
okay,
It's a little bit more complicated with modular because while in factory, it is personal property and it's not affixed to the land, but we'll cover that in more depth. But to
Yeah,
answer your question, I would do construction loans every day of the week because at least you have the bank protecting you.
yeah, so that means you're going to talk to your banker or whoever's doing it and get the particulars on that. Yes, thank you.
Of course. And not every bank understands this. I have
I can believe that.
some lenders that do work in this field, and if you need names, etc., we can work together on that. So the next topic is interior finishes. What's included and what is possible? So it's really important to ask each fabricator for a detailed list of what is included in their standard pricing. Most of the time, there's standard specs. And most of the time, there's a list and there's pictures of what their standard specs are. And it's really important when they say, yeah, this is, this house is $300,000 and it comes fully done. Well,
Right.
what are you getting? What does fully done mean? So it would be really nice to see what, are the showers these little acrylic things where you step on and it creaks as you're going, or is it really nice porcelain? What your kitchens look like, what your floors look like, what are the windows? So they usually have a spec sheet of finishes. And then let's say you're like, okay, but I want to see what the upgrades are. Do they have upgrades? Are upgrades available? What is the cost of the updated finishes? Can you pick certain upgrades? Let's say you want to keep the house standard, but there's 2-3 things that you want upgraded. Is that possible? Or are you supposed to just immediately go to the upgraded package? All these things are really important to understand. Okay, and then in terms of the upgraded pricing structure, is it per upgrade? Is it per room? Is it per square foot? Is it per item? What are we talking about? Another thing that you may want to ask is, can your home be delivered as a vanilla shell? Let's say you're really, really, really handy and you want to finish the home yourself. Can it arrive as a vanilla shell? What does that mean? It arrives with mechanical, first of all, framed, mechanical, electrical, plumbing, and walls, all the stubs, and you put the cabinetry. You put in your toilets, you put in your showers, whatever it may be. You put in the flooring. Can you do that? Because you may want to check with your local contractor or your handyman, and it may be cheaper to do it that way. Then the other thing is you may want to ask another question. Can I purchase the finishes myself? Can I purchase the cabinetry? Can I purchase all these things and have it shipped to you to install? Sometimes, rarely, that is cheaper. Most of the time, a factory has more leverage because they order in bulk. But at times, you may be in the countertop granite business, and you may get granite really, really inexpensively. So again, another question to ask. If you can source your own finishes, supply them to the factory for the factory to install. Questions? Okay. Another thing to consider is asking, do you provide other services? Do they assist with local permitting? Remember, the house, let's say you choose one of their models, the house is state approved, but you still have all of the site to approve. You still need foundation approval. You need grading. You need drainage. You need trees. I mean, whatever it is that is required, you need. So are they going to help you with that? Do they help? Some do. Some, like, no, lady, no. Go to your local civil engineer, go to your architect. Some do. Some say they do. And if they say they do they have an in-house engineer? Do they do it in-house, or do they go third party? That's really important, because if it goes third party, who's that third party? Can you speak with them? Blah, blah, blah. What about the transportation of the modules to the site? Do they provide transportation of the modules to the site? A lot of times that is included with the price. A lot of times it's not. And I will do it, but for an extra fee. What about the crane? Is the crane included? Is it not? Most of the time the crane is not included because, and it's understandable. The fabricator has no idea what your site looks like. And so every site has its own challenges. And so the crane may have to fit the site needs, the site requirements. But will they provide that? Do they bolt or weld the modules onto the foundation? Do they join the modules? Do they finish the modules out? Do they do the certificate of occupancy? What is once the units are on the site, what other services are they providing? Or they just go, adios, on you. Really, 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 really important, because those can be called scope gaps that you're not aware of, and those will cost you a lot more money. So it's really important that you know ahead of time. Okay. And another thing is, do they provide site development services? A lot of fabricators know of a contractor, have a contractor, and they will provide site development services. And I think it's a really important thing to get a quote from them. You can always compare the quote with a local GC that you find. But if they provide that service, I would get a quote from them. But these questions are really important, because that's where these scope gaps happen. And scope gaps are things that you think or you assumed and no one really asked, and then you still have to do them. And that's where your budget is usually blown, because those are the things that will be very expensive, and it can kill projects.
So did you buy one of these?
Well, for 10 years, we were designing and coordinating them. So we've been working in this for a long, long time.
So do you feel that it's better, if you're going to make a change in your life living, do you feel like it's better to buy a house than one of these modules?
It really depends on what is out there. If you find a good team, a good partnership, I think that you can get a new state-of-the-art, latest codes
Yeah.
at a more reasonable price than you would be getting a home. So there's a lot of advantages to this, but you have to get the right team on your side.
Right.
It's, you know, I believe in modular. I believe whether it's wood, container, steel, I think that there's a big future. It's just doing it the right way, planning the right way. There's a lot of missteps that can happen, but if things work the right way, it could be a really successful project. It could be a really win-win, and you can end up with something where between the market price and where you're at, there could be $300,000-$400,000 or more of equity.
Right.
But again, in order to do that, it has to be well planned out, and you have to get the right team on your side.
Okay.
So let's talk about site development for just a little bit. So once you have, you know what you're looking for, you know what, you know, you've talked to fabricators, you have get an idea of the models that you want, etc. You can now, first of all, let's assume your fabricator offers site development services. You've talked to them, but now you can take it also to a third party and get additional bids. You can contact contractors in your area and make sure that okay, let me backtrack for 2 seconds. You may not only need a foundation, right? You may not only need grading. What happens if you're in an area where you need septic? There's no water, you need a well. So all these things have to be taken into account. You have to make sure that you do your homework, or you work with somebody that can hold your hand to do all that homework. So get bids on everything. Once you have bids on everything, you can start putting everything in a table and really comparing apples to apples. This fabricator does this. This does not do this. This does this. This does this. This guy does that. This, and then slowly you get an idea of. The idea is to get to a budget. Okay. This whole homework is trying to get to a budget that is as realistic as you can. It will not be the final budget. Unfortunately, there's always things that happen. So you have to plan for contingencies. But the idea is to come up with a dollar amount. And once you have this dollar amount, you go, can I really afford this? Is this realistic? And if it's not, okay, how can I dial it down? Maybe I don't need this heated floors in my bathroom, and I don't need this blah, blah, blah. But come up with a realistic budget. And if you're looking for a lender, you're looking for a construction loan, they're going to need for you to do this homework anyway. They will not loan you any money without this homework being done.
Yeah.
So this is really important. A lender is also going to take all these numbers, the house plans and everything, and appraise it as if it were a finished product. And then from there, they will loan a percentage of that. Okay, so coming up with a budget is really, really important. Now, running through some other things really quickly. Anyway, before, are there questions at this point? Can I answer anything? Okay. Understanding timelines. Another thing that kills projects is time. Because time is money. Old cliche, but it's true. Timelines that are not met can really, really derail projects. So you need to ask a fabricator for realistic timelines. Most fabricators are going to say in the agreement that they put together with you, okay, We can do this in 12 weeks. Well, I've never, ever, ever in 10 years had a house built in 10 weeks.
Right.
It doesn't happen. So you can push them as much as you want. They're going to keep saying that. So that's not a realistic timeline. So at least double that amount. Anything in factory, if it's more than 1 module or 2 modules, is going to take 4 months, 5 months. That's a realistic time frame. Ask them, what is the typical lead time from the signed contract to delivery? If there's delays, what kind of delays happen? What are your typical delays? Just ask questions. Are they supply chain delays? Are they permit delays? Are they factory bottleneck? What is their capacity? How large is the factory? How many units, how many homes can they be building at once? What is their pipeline? Where do you fit in that pipeline? Are you number 38? So they won't start building your project for another 2 years? I mean, where are you in this pipeline? How soon can they start on your project? So those things are really, really important because they help you plan for contingencies or help you decide that you're going to go with a different fabricator. Another really important thing is the importance of communication and responsiveness. I don't know. I mean, I think, Laurence, you mentioned this, that you send emails out to fabricators and no one answers you. Well, that doesn't give a lot of confidence, does it?
Exactly.
So this is the courtship stage. So imagine going on a date or even getting married with someone that doesn't answer you. Emilia.
Hi. So we were wondering about other parts of the side projects, like the exterior, the roof, etc. Do they usually do that in their scope? Is that in their scope, or is it something?
The exterior, the cladding on the outside?
Right.
Again, that is something that you need to ask because normally you choose a cladding when you're choosing the how do you call it, your house, and the cladding should come with it. But who's going to install the cladding? Is the cladding installed in factory and then delivered, or is it installed on site? A lot of times it will be installed on site because as you're joining 2 modules, the cladding that is installed in factory is not going to look good. So in order to make it seamless, it'll be something that will be installed on site. But that's exactly a really important question to ask. Okay. So the importance of communication and responsiveness. Pay attention to how responsive somebody is. If they're slow and unclear now, it's only going to get worse. Good communication, a good rapport. You are going to be with this person at least for 6-8 months. So make sure that there's a really good communication. Warranties and aftercare. What is the warranty? Usually it's a year. There's a year warranty on a modular structure, which is really interesting because HUD built homes, which is your federal standard, they have 7-year warranties. But modular usually only has a year warranty. But then all of the systems in place, the appliances, the air conditioning, the whatever, have their own warranties. But it's important to talk about warranties and aftercare. Something happens. Do you call them? Can you get a home insurance? When you buy a house, they give you like a year. What are these things called when you buy a house? You can American Home Shield, right. For example, is that
Home warranty.
It's a home warranty, exactly. Thank you. And I should know, I'm a realtor, right? And so can you get one? I don't know. Do they have a dedicated service department in case something happens, or are you left to figure out on your own? When choosing a fabricator, is the factory nearby? Can you go on a factory tour? If you can't because it's too far, can you get a video? Can you do a Zoom as they're walking around the factory? Are there any homes that are built nearby that you can go visit? Questions?
I was interested in seeing some container houses in California. I am not even sure that you can find any, to be honest, in California. I haven't seen any, and I don't know where to go, who to ask in order to go and visit outside. Obviously, I don't want to go inside, but at least to see outside. But I don't know where to go.
You can ask me. Like Mark asked me, I gave him a list of a couple, 3, 4. There's not a lot. But if you're looking further than this area, I can give you some in the desert. I mean, things that we built. I can give you desert. I can give you Malibu, Fresno, Northern California. And then there's stuff.
Where in Northern California?
Across the bay from you in Hayward. There's a little,
Hayward. Okay.
Yeah, little ADU in Hayward, but they have an alley. So if you drive down the alley, you can see the little ADU. And then Redding, there's a couple of homes that are going to be, there's one that is being put on site right now, and then one that will be in about 3-4 months. Shasta County. Fresno, Joshua Tree, there's a couple of different homes. So they're scattered. I mean, there's, again, very fragmented industry, but huge opportunity. Huge opportunity. So we covered a lot. We only have like 4 or 5 minutes, so I'm going to be closing this session. So if anybody has additional questions, and you may end up with additional questions after you've thought about it, feel free to reach out to me, have an offline conversation about it. Emilia. You had a question?
You're on mute.
She's on mute.
Sorry about that.
Oh, Emily has sent me all sorts of photos of these incredibly fantastical combinations of containers. They're just amazing, but I'm curious if the providers you're talking about are basically giving you a set of floor plans to choose from, or can you come up with something where you stack a couple and you make like a high ceiling great room or something like that, and things like that?
I've been following them online and looking at all their beautiful designs and
Yes.
falling in love with them.
Yes, you can do so much. These are modules. They're boxes, right? That can be made into, especially containers, into so many interesting shapes. You have to know how to design with containers. It is not the simplest because there's corner posts and things that there's certain things you cannot do. But there are people out there that do beautiful work with shipping containers. There's people that have beautiful designs with modular, and modular that is wrapped in metal siding, so it looks like shipping containers.
Mm-hmm.
Some fabricators have already plans A, B, C, D, E. There's not that many out there for shipping containers where the plans are really nice homes, and I think it's something that I'm waiting to see, because I think that would be fantastic. But
So, sorry,
go ahead.
when you say modular, then are you, I was thinking this was strictly like container homes, but your modular providers that you're referring to are not like containerized. They're
It doesn't have to be.
other types of modular construction.
So if you go to last week on our website, we touched upon the difference between modular manufactured and stick built. And in the modular world, there is wood frame, shipping container, steel frame modules, panelized systems, everything that is built in factory and arrives in pieces to be put together on site to create a house. So
Okay.
shipping containers is a subsection of
Mhm.
modular.
So for those of us rebuilding in a fire zone, obviously you'd want something that is more fire resistant. So
I would not choose wood frame modular, or exactly, you would either go steel frame modular or shipping containers for sure.
Yeah. Right. Thank you.
Of course. And again, as I said, if you have questions, need support, you could reach me offline, call me. We can via Zoom or phone, I can answer some additional questions. And I hope to see you here next week as I was supposed to have a session on fire rebuilds next week. And instead I'm moving that out to a little bit further out because I'd like to have guest speakers come to that one. So next week we're going to be discussing land, how to choose the right piece of land, what to do when you have land, what are the steps that you need to take, what is the due diligence that needs to take place.
Thank
And-
you, Catalina. This is really great, very informative. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Nice job.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Appreciate
Information.
it. Great.
Lot of information. All I have to do is figure out what I wrote. Okay.
Well, I will, again, I started recording this late in the game, but whatever I have will be up on YouTube. And I know, Sugar, that's sort of hard for you, but if you forgot anything, just give me a call.
All right.
Okay?
Thank
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 you,
you,
everybody.
Thank you.
Catalina.
I really appreciate it. Bye-bye.
you.
Bye.
Bye.